In today's episode of the Path Monk Presents podcast, I have some interesting guests here with me today. I'm with Romey Louangvilay and Marc who are hailing over from ELMNTL. And so essentially, today we're going to be learning all about what the company's doing, who they're serving, and how the two think about growth. So I'm actually quite honored to have two representatives here on the show. So I think they're going to give us some fantastic insights into what the folks are doing. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Very cool. Marc, maybe I'm going to start with you. Give us a 360 overview about ELMNTL. What is it all about?
Sure. So ELMNTL is a full-service marketing and communications agency that specializes in travel, leisure, hospitality, spirits, and lifestyle brands. So what we do is tie together creative services with performance marketing and underpinned by very strong storytelling through things like social media and influencers. So we're based in the US. We have offices in New York. I'm in Dallas. We also have offices internationally in Manila, in Sao Paulo, and we've been around since 2009. And Romey and I are two of the co-founders.
Very cool. Romey, so maybe tell us more about the clients. I mean, Marc alluded to it a little bit, but what are the types of companies you're working with and what are the types of problems or let's say wishes that come to you guys?
We work around the full gamut. I would say most of our clients are within the tourism and hospitality space. Like we work with destinations like the Tourism Authority of Thailand. We work with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is comprised of 10 different Southeast Asian nations. We also work with hospitality brands like the Halal Guys and a few others that's kind of slipping my mind right now. We also do spirits. We work a lot with Casa Lumbre in the US market, bringing their Absolute Whiskey, Ojo Tigre Mezcal, and a few other brands to the market here. Yeah, and I would say the main problem that we do solve is performance marketing. I do think the challenge that a lot of brands have is the creativity of doing a really cool story or a campaign that one will engage consumers and then two actually drive sales. Usually when agencies come on board, they're either really good at creative or they're good at performance marketing. I like to say we're good at both worlds. We're good at the creative, we're good at storytelling, and we're really good at really driving sales. And we have a lot of case studies that we can talk about a little bit later on too in terms of that.
Very cool. Very cool. And what would you say, like, which type of people raise their hands and say, hey, we need to get the folks of ELMNTL on board? Is that like a CMO that just needs to support? Is that like a business owner, maybe even at some point? Like, so what types of personas would you say are coming out and say, hey, we need you folks?
Yeah, I would say on the tourism side, it's usually the directors of that tourism board or the VPs of like marketing. Marc, I don't know if you want to talk about the...
Yeah, I think it really depends on the sector, but typically we get hired by the VPs of marketing, CMOs. Oftentimes for larger organizations, we get brought on by the brand managers, the people who oversee the general success of a specific brand, and that tends to be the case, for example, in spirits. And then we work with a lot of up and coming brands as well, and so in those cases, we often get brought on by the founders, the owners, and those are the general types of people that we interact with.
It's quite interesting. You're mentioning those very different types of personas. Sometimes in an up and coming brand, the founders, in more established brand obviously goes more specialized. Like, how do the folks hear about ELMNTL? Like, what's their journey like of getting to know you guys? Or maybe in other words, what are sort of the key acquisition channels that you guys are leveraging?
Yeah, so by and large, most of our new business comes through referrals, right? So it's existing clients, but also referrals from vendors, from partners, from people that we've interacted in the past. And that fits really nicely with our model because we're a boutique agency, and so we really rely on that strong word of mouth. And hopefully, it's also a testament of the quality of work that we do. As we scale up, we're starting to drive more and more inbound leads through other channels like our website, through the organic kind of search engine optimization, but also through our social media efforts. And Romey and I also do a lot of speaking engagements, outreach of that kind, so we increase the visibility of the agency through that channel.
Very cool. Yeah, you mentioned the website. I mean, number one, guys, if you head over to elemental.com, it's ELMNTL.co, not .com, .co. And you basically, explore it a little bit further. That's where you can, get an insight into this. What I would be curious about is, right, now the website you mentioned, you bring some inbound. How do you think about the website? I mean, and it's curious to have Romey here is coming from the creative side of things, and Marc as well. Like, I'm curious, what do you guys think, each of you? What is the sort of the current strength of the website versus where do you see room for improvement? I would be curious how it compares.
Romey, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I can go first. I mean, I think the new website right now, I think is amazing. It's still, we actually just redesigned it, I think about 2 weeks ago in 2 different phases. So this is only phase 1 of the redesign. So as a phase 1, I love it because the rhino and the pink bold colors kind of grab my attention. It makes me want to explore more. Obviously during phase 2, which will be coming out later this year, it's going to have more details on our services, the team structure, more about our clients. It's going to be a lot more robust, but as a phase 1, I like it. It grabs my attention.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is kind of a good micro example of the different areas that we cover as an agency, you know, between the creative, the storytelling, and the performance marketing. So our number one priority was to make sure that the creative and the storytelling are up there, because it's very hard to drive performance if people don't know who you are and they're not impressed by your story. So that's the kind of the version 1 that Romey was talking about, making sure that it captures the imagination, it covers all of our bases. But then the next phase for us is really making sure that we have rich content on the website that, you know, really speaks to our audience and demonstrates our expertise and our authority, and then funnels them to eventually, contacting us. And part and parcel of that is the content marketing strategy, driving that organic traffic so that we can capture those qualified leads. So the next phase for us will be to add a much more robust set of content that we will be putting on the website, but also promoting out through other channels.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, it's quite interesting that you just recently actually relaunched it. Maybe, Romey, it sounds like you were involved with this. Like, how did you guys, look into, trying to figure out what actually needs to change? Like, did you do a deep dive and analysis? Did you do some user testing? Was it more the creative that was leading the change? Maybe you can give us an insight into the process of how you guys actually changed it.
Yeah, Marc was actually more instrumental in the actual website design.
Okay, gotcha.
I more chimed in on the creative and the visuals of it. But a lot of it was based off just asking our own team members and our colleagues what they thought of the current website and what they would want to see in a newer version. So yeah, we're definitely more collaborative here. Even though we're more the top senior people, we always love getting our feedback from our team members, just because they're on the ground too. They'll have good insight. So we did take into consideration the creativity from them. But Marc worked on it a little bit more closely.
Yeah, I think Romey's giving me a little bit too much credit. I mean, I think, first of all, we build websites for our clients all day long. And as is often the case with agencies, our own website got neglected for a very long time because we're busy taking care of other people. And so we already have a strong foundation of what we need and what's missing. But I think also a lot of the things that we added to this new website were born out of the frustrations that we experienced over the last few years of, me and Romey and the rest of the team going out and promoting the agency and realizing we're missing this, we're missing that. We don't have the latest case studies. Competitor agencies, having much better parts of their website that we're very envious of. And so we actually organically created a very long list of things that we knew we had to have on the website. And then it became a matter of, okay, we can't do everything right off the bat. We'd rather go for progress over perfection. So let's prioritize the things that we need to tackle first, get those done in a version 1, and then layer it on afterwards. And that's how we identified, what needed to be addressed in the website.
That's very cool. I mean, this process that you just described seems so valuable, because we see a lot of people on the show, they keep on pushing the change of the website out, and then all of a sudden it's a year later and it's still the current version somehow. Very good. I want to switch gears a little bit and learn a bit more about you folks as well. Marc, obviously in performance marketing, there is so much content out there that you could read all day long. Google is providing stuff, all the platforms are providing, then all the where do you like to educate yourself? Like, what's the one place where you say, or the two places where you say, hey, I'm finding high quality content, I really like to dig deeper here?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different places that I generally look. One is our peers who we think are at the top of their market for performance marketing. So places like HubSpot, if you are new to performance marketing and you just need a strong general foundation, the HubSpot Knowledge Center is a good place to start. It's not necessarily going to make you operational right away, but it'll give you that base of knowledge in order to explore further, and then diving into specific channel experts like PPC Hero for the PPC side of things, Moz and the folks at Brain Labs for SEO. The list goes on. So finding best of breed and seeing what they're putting out there in their guides, and there's a wealth of information. There's too much to digest, so you can really cherry pick what it is that you're interested in, and then start subscribing and looking at that. But the other source of information that I use very frequently is just newsletter feeds for general information on advertising, on health, on tech, all the different broad topics that I'm interested in. So I started recently consuming Morning Consult, which if you check it out, you can subscribe to specific topic areas, and they'll send you quick snapshots of what are the major movements in those areas. And they have the graph of the day, which is usually quite helpful for us to understand things. And I find it useful to kind of step out of marketing specific information from time to time, just to see how are big brands or big organizations thinking about tackling problems in general, because that's really what we're in the business in, is problem solving. And having that perspective can be quite helpful, because we always focus on the same set of problems day in and day out. It can be a little bit much.
Makes sense. Guys, I want to do some rapid fire questions with you as we're slowly moving towards the end of the interview. We're going to throw them one by one to you guys. Are you ready for those?
Ready.
Sure.
Very good. So Romey, I'm going to start with you. What is the last book you read?
Oh gosh, I don't want to say it.
Uh-oh.
It was okay, I'll be honest, I don't really read books, but I do listen to audiobooks. So I'm gonna count an audiobook as reading a book. The last one I read was by he's like a DJ radio personality called Charlemagne the God. He talks about Black privilege, and his whole book's all about like being from the South and how white privilege is like a cause of issues in a lot of society's problems. Yeah, so it's called Black Privilege by Charlemagne the God. Very
cool. Marc, what's the one thing the company is focused on the most at the moment?
The one single thing? Pipeline. We're in a phase of rapid growth. We emerged from a very difficult year, as everybody did from last year, and we're now just starting to get our footing, and especially in the industries where we focus, tourism, hospitality, they were tremendously affected. So we're getting back to 2019 levels, and now just looking for rapid expansion.
Very cool. Romey, what is one thing that you would, so let's say you have no boundaries in technology anymore. Everything is possible. You have a magic stick. What's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
For my role, I would say getting clients to like respond on my deadline. If I had a magic wand, that would solve a lot of my work issues, because clients give us deadlines and we have to abide by it, but clients never abide by our deadlines, which makes our work delayed or we're rushing. So yeah, that would be the magic wand I would love to have.
Very cool. Marc, what's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
The last thing that kept me awake about the company, I think, like for a lot of other people, was the pandemic. I mean, we it's not a secret. We were devastated by the impact that the pandemic had on hospitality and leisure, and we faced some very difficult decisions, especially as a smaller agency that doesn't necessarily have a tremendous amount of funding. We had to think about how do we ensure the agency's survival, but we also have team members who are almost family to us. They're not quite family, but they're tremendously important. The agency is nothing without the team, and so figuring out how do we preserve them. How do we make sure that they still have access to benefits? You don't necessarily know this problem in Europe because it's not a problem in Europe, but in the US, healthcare benefits and that sort of thing are tied to employment. And so juggling that was a tremendously stressful time. And we were fortunate in that we were able to retain the full team, but there were a lot of sleepless nights around that.
That makes a whole lot of sense. The last question would be a bit of time travel, and I will pose it to the both of you. So in this case, Marc, you will have a bit more time to think about it. So Romey, or in both, if we're doing a bit of time travel, and we go back to on the one side the Oglethorpe University, on the other side Columbia. Back to university days, just heading off out of education, you're heading off into your career, building companies, working in marketing and creative. What's the one advice you would give yourself?
Oh, I know this one because I regret it every single day when I watch, because I work in influencer marketing as well. But so I would say, so I graduated in 2007, and that was the year YouTube was kind of created and people were like figuring out what YouTube was. Facebook was, we just took Facebook as like, oh, it's the college MySpace or whatever. And my friend was trying to start like a YouTube channel. I was like, oh, we should do a fitness channel. I think it'd be kind of cool. It would be like the first, like, trainers on there. We can make a career out of it. And I was like, no, I want a real job. I don't care about this YouTube. It's not gonna go anywhere. I already have a job lined up at Ogilvy in New York, so I'm out. Fast forward 14 years later, or 15 years later, or whenever 2007 was, I was like, damn it, I could have been an influencer. I could have been one of those I could be one of those YouTube influencers where people are like emailing me for like my rates versus me emailing them for their rates.
That's funny. That's cool. And Marc?
Yeah, I think knowing what I know now, I would have spent more time seeking out mentors who were already well established and successful in the fields that we were trying to get into. So when we started the agency, I have a little bit of a different background to Romey in that he comes from an agency background with and a very strong pedigree there, whereas I did not, and I had to learn everything from scratch, which has its advantages. I was able to not necessarily follow a predetermined path, but I think I would have definitely been able to do that faster and better if I had surrounded myself with people who could shine a light on a better path to get there. So really highlighted the importance of mentors.
Yep, very good. Guys, I want to really thank you guys to have spent the time on the Pathmark Presents podcast. Maybe I want to give you guys the last word, and feel free who's picking that up. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about ELMNTL today, what is the one thing that they should remember?
Oh yeah, I'll go first. I would say we are the agency that does a really great job at creativity and performance marketing. We understand like the importance of storytelling and visuals. We also understand at the end of the day, you have to make sales. That would be mine.
Yeah, I think I was going to say exactly what Romey said. You stole it, so I'm going to have to find something else. One thing that I really want people to think about is ELMNTL has a tremendous amount of expertise in multicultural and cross-cultural marketing. So we're not explicitly a cross-cultural marketing agency because we don't want to be limited to just that, but pretty much all the work that we do is multicultural. If you look at the tourism work that we do, the spirits work that we do, it's something that's really deeply embedded in mine and Romey's philosophy on how we look at the world. And fortunately, there's more attention being paid to that nowadays. So if you're looking for a great cross-cultural agency, please get in touch with us.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.